Hello, everyone. I absolutely love that it started like that because that, in essence, is what would happen during a Kickstarter or a Kickstarter stream. The
Sure.
things that you don't plan always happen. I love this. Hello, everyone. I'm Markeia McCarty. I'm going to be moderating Kickstarting Your TTRPG tips and tricks from A to Z with this amazing panel of inspiring TTRPG professionals. We have battled our in the process of battling our own BBEGs, i.e., Kickstarters, and we're going to give you our woes, our wisdoms, our triumphs, and along the way, please go ahead and populate your questions into chat, and we'll incorporate those, and then also have those at the end. So please, everyone, introduce yourselves to everyone out there. We'll start with Jamie and work our way around.
Hey, everybody. My name is Jamie Van Doorn. I'm the founder and CEO of a very small, but hopefully growing media and entertainment company that specializes in the TTRPG space, which is never ending. We had a big Kickstarter with tons of amazing collaborators called A Nazi's Tapestry of Lives, and I'm just really happy to be here. Thank you, Markeia.
Absolutely. Michelle?
Hey, I'm Michelle Bradley. I am a host, producer, tabletop on-screen talent, but mostly I'm working on the Tabletop News Kickstarter live now. You can see the link in my bio or whatever. Please give us money. It's very painful process. And yeah, it's not necessarily, this is my first Kickstarter where it was my own project where I wasn't helping somebody else. I've also sort of like on the back end helped a tiny bit with Hunters Entertainment's Kickstarters, a few of them. And yeah, it's this is a bad place, but it's great. That's my intro.
Banana?
Hi, I'm Banana Chan, she, they, he. I am the owner and co-founder of a small box board game and RPG publishing company called Game and TTRPG, which we're now changing its name to Read Only Memory because we're focusing more on RPGs now. In terms of the work that I'm doing right now, I have a campaign that's up on Indiegogo called Forgery, which is about a disgruntled artist who recreates a cursed painting. And in terms of like other projects that I've done in the past, worked on a lot of Kickstarters on the support end, have been on various different people's projects, and I also was on John Schubel in the Banquet Hall with Senfone Lim.
Hello, my name is Knox Weiler-Burf. I am the General Manager and Creative Director at Hunters Entertainment. We just completed a Kickstarter for Alice is Missing Silent Falls, which is an expansion to the game created by Spencer Stark. And we've also just completed a Kickstarter for Kids on Bikes, second edition. We have a few things coming up, and we have the very ambitious goal of running 4 active Kickstarters every single year. So I think we're going to have some advice from our corner as to exactly how to pace yourself and be able to produce Kickstarters in a responsible but yet effective way.
Yes. And everyone, like I said, I'm Markeia McCarty, but also my Kickstarter experience is primarily through Hunters Entertainment, being their marketing manager and marketing director, now their community director, and having done a number of Kickstarters with them from the marketing standpoint with things. So, and along with that, yes, as Knox was saying, with becoming now a 4-time-a-year Kickstarter company as opposed to a 1-time-a-year Kickstarter company, we're basically taking about 2 months in between each Kickstarter. So we're almost at the end of that break before another one's happening. So we have a lot of tips to help out with those of you that are on your first, your 7th, your 13th. There's always something to learn, forever learning when it comes to Kickstarter. So, let's go ahead and jump into this. I kind of see doing Kickstarter like it's a 5 acts in a play. Sometimes that play is a Greek tragedy. So, with the first act, the pre-Kickstarter, the things to start revving up into having this done. I know that all of us have different ways of doing that from either a game design point of view, production side, marketing side, or if you're trying to do everything on your own with a team of willing volunteers behind you. So I'm considering this to be an open forum for y'all. Pre Kickstarter, tell us some of your tips. Besides having a really great sense of humor with yourself and everything else.
I think I'll start because I have the least amount of experience. Everyone else here has a lot more than I do. The primary difference between what I've been doing with Tabletop News Kickstarter versus all of your guys' Kickstarters is that my Kickstarter is a project, or it's not a product. So instead of trying to win people over that are discerning, consumers of buying a cool game or an item or a book, I'm trying to win hearts and minds with my marketing campaign to convince people that they are buying into something that's going to help the community, that is more of a dream, like a personal project that they can be a part of as a community endeavor. So from the get-go, pre-Kickstarter, the first concept we had was how we're differentiating ourselves from other Kickstarters in that way, and creating our marketing and social plan and ad buy plan that follows that content we're in, all follows that notion of winning hearts and minds. And I feel like that's a quote from Ted Lasso, but I'm not really sure. I've been watching it a lot lately.
Oh no.
Yeah,
I've been watching a lot of Yellow Jackets. I don't want to see where mine goes.
Okay, we're not going to talk about the shows we're watching now, but just a breakdown for me was get that concept very hard in our minds, have it written down, or like mission statement, and then from there building out everything you need pre-Kickstarter, which of course what are your rewards, what are your projects, who's shipping for you, who's doing the ad buys, how much money do you have for ad buys, who's doing the social, how are you doing it, looking at ad buy, looking at A/B testing in all markets for any kind of social or marketing. And yeah, sorry, that's a lot. Someone else can talk now.
Well, it does bring up a really good point. In the pre-Kickstarter phase, keeping in mind that what you are putting into Kickstarter is potential. People are backing a potential of something. They're backing a potential of a game. They're backing the potential of a show. So something that I would recommend is no less, bare minimum's 3 months, but let's say super bare minimum is 1 month before you have any plan to start this Kickstarter. Go ahead and start labeling out what is the potential of this project. What is it that you are trying to find your selling point with this for people? Because that's what needs to happen. Opening to the floor to everybody else.
Yeah, I have. I actually want to bridge onto something. Like, I think there's a step even earlier, and it's a step that we did not do extremely well. So I took on a big project with the Nazi Tapestry of Lives. It was actually our third project. Our other two projects were in software, actually. So this is the first book project. But we had this fantastic opportunity that we didn't take advantage of, which was giving a lot of early previews and making sure that we were kind of building that audience and letting people know what our ideas were. And I've consulted on a couple of Kickstarters since then. And I know it can be anxiety creating to kind of put the idea out there and worry that somebody is going to swoop in and snatch it and take it away. But there might be somebody else working on it already. And you also just want to know that you're putting something out there that people want to buy. Because at the end of the day, there's a tremendous amount of work that's going into this, a tremendous amount of energy, likely not just yours, lots of other people's as well. And so you want to set yourself up for success. And part of that is ensuring that you have an audience and ensuring that what you're creating is something that people want, unless it's just a passion project. But that's my thought. I'd love to hear if other people agree.
It's interesting. I think the word that has been thrown around a lot is community. And if you're going to start a Kickstarter, you want a good foundation of a community that you're going to build off of. Those are individuals that are going to be your cheerleaders, the people in your corner, supporting through word of mouth what it is you're trying to do. Social media, all the platforms that you're going to really want to lean on when creating a successful Kickstarter are going to rely on the people behind all of that. So as Jamie here said, if there is something that you have that you can share ahead of time, even if it's just a series of images, a title, a little video, before the Kickstarter even has a sign-up page set, that's a successful way to begin the process of building that group of people, the core that's going to carry you through the entire process.
Yeah, and I think just going off of what everyone's saying, I think that there are two ways of thinking about Kickstarter, right? Or any sort of crowdfunding platform. That is in the sense of are you the publisher or are you solo publishing? Are you self-publishing? And so from that lens, I'm assuming that a lot of the people that are watching this video, they're probably going to be either publishers or they are planning on, self-publishing a project. And I think that when you go into planning your Kickstarter, there are three things that you might want to think about. And the first thing is vision. So what is the vision for this project? Like, what is the big concept? And why would people want to be playing this thing or buying this thing? The second thing is strategy. And so for strategy, we're thinking about how are you going to think about your marketing? How are you going to think about the way to get this into people's hands? And then the third thing is execution. And so with execution, you're thinking about how are we going to send this off to print? How are we going to get the copies if we're talking about a physical product? How are we going to get the units over here in order to get to the end customer? And so that's I would say that's sort of a broad overview of some steps that you could sort of cut down into even more bite-sized pieces and just work your way from there.
I want to jump in on something that Banana said. By the way, I just love the brilliance of you just laid it out so cleanly and so wonderfully. I wish I'd had your advice when I had done mine, because those are really great buckets that are manageable to put those things into. But on the execution side specifically, I think one of the benefits that I had, because I've done project management and I've got 20 years of business development and marketing experience, I put together a budget early on, and I made sure that I understood what our margins were going to be. I have backed a ridiculous amount of Kickstarters, and it always breaks my heart when I hear of people that look like they've had a great success and they get to the end and they're thousands of dollars in the hole, because they didn't take into account the margins and everything. So I would say early on, you want to start kind of identifying what you think your costs are going to be and add in, your cushion for that. It's just such a critical step so that you save yourself the economic pain of just losing a bunch of money or potentially not being able to deliver.
What a great point. I mean, look, as creative as the people involved in the Kickstarter might be, if you don't come at it from a strong foundation of business planning, you're going to be in a bad position when the whole thing wraps up. For instance, Michelle is running a Kickstarter that is offering a not a product, but a production. And that has different costs associated. For us at Hunters Entertainment, we use Kickstarter as a pre-order device almost. We know we're going to produce this book. We know we're going to produce this content. We've already done all the math for that. We know exactly what we're selling, how many of those units there might be, how much those are going to cost. And we go into the Kickstarter with some assumptions about what levels we would like to hit to be able to do extra things that are exclusives that are tied directly into the Kickstarter itself, so that the early adopters, the pre-backers, are going to get something of value to them. But that's a very specific way to go about it when there might be other ways that require a different mode of thinking. But every single one of those, regardless of how you approach Kickstarter, is going to require a strong business plan to start with.
Yes.
Yeah. And, okay, sorry.
Yeah. And just to say what Jamie and Banana and Knox have been saying, something to build into those costs, into those margins, is the payment to yourself and to your team. I'm going to say that again. The payment to yourself and your team. Do not cut yourself out of this, because with Kickstarter, there is so much time and emotional and physical involvement that goes into this. You really do need to make sure that things are taken care of at your home base. Build that into your budget of what you're going to have your Kickstarter be. Everybody loves to be fully funded within the first 3 days, and that's awesome. But chances are your Kickstarter is going to be going on for a month. Go ahead and build in that time, build in stretch goals. You have to take care of yourself and the small team of community that you have around you, so that you can make it to the finish line with everything. And I see that we have a question here about what's A/B testing. I believe Michelle brought that up, but basically Michelle, you can answer to.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. A/B testing is, for instance, let's say that you have two versions of your website that you want to do. And, one version is everything's done towards this main character that you have for this game, and then the other one is all about the world of for the same game, and then you just show that to people and be like, hey, which one is more that you would want to buy this game if it's showcasing this main character or if it's showcasing the world. So it's A/B testing. It's the same product but done in different ways.
Yeah, exactly. For what I was specifically referring to was A/B testing for marketing, for ad buys and influencer buys, anything you're spending money to show your product as an ad. Usually what you'll want with these kinds of ads is to have click-throughs, like maybe, again, with the image thing, maybe it's a picture of like character A, and people don't seem to be clicking through. You do that for a week. You look at the analytics afterwards. You see how many click-throughs, how many impressions did it have versus click-throughs, and then you do it again. The B would be character B. And if their click-throughs are not as good, then you say, great, we're going to stick with character A for the next 3 campaigns. So the A/B testing is what thing looks nicest to make people go to where I want them to go. And then also A/B testing could be even for influencers too. If you hire influencers to do any kind of shout outs about your product, just what kind of influencers are they? Are they micro? Are they macro? Are they, what kind of community they have? And that's a little more hard to gauge. But generally speaking, you want to have all this testing done before your Kickstarter so that when you go in, you're doing the right thing already, which is very hard to do because obviously it takes money to do that most of the time.
Well, and we could spend a lot of time on the pre-Kickstarter, but we still have 4 other things that we want to cover. So let's talk about actual launch of Kickstarter and tips and everything with that. So it's launch day. It has happened. Finally, all of this buildup has gone to it. And then also to keep in mind for everybody that's with us, there will be a post-panel discussion that will be in the Discord. They will drop that in the chat when we come to the end, if there's still things that want to be discussed. So yes, let's talk about tips for launch day. All this excitement, all of this buildup that has happened. It's finally here. Live has happened, and tips and tricks for people to get through launch. Let's say the first launch and like the first 72 hours.
So ideally, you have a communication plan built out already. Like you know the messaging that you want to do and the cadence for that. There's some things that you can't prepare for, but you want to have messaging ready if you think it's likely that you might fund in the first 12 hours, 3 hours, 24 hours, whatever. But have those posts created already ahead of time so that you can just quickly push them out. If you have collaborators, make sure that you've communicated with them ahead of time. One of the pieces for that, by the way, is letting them know the expectations, because I know personally, I had some bad communications with some of our collaborators. Some of them were really clear on what the expectations were in terms of helping us kind of promote. Other people, we did not do a good job on that. And so it's easy to create some hurt feelings because you're just moving so quickly. So making sure that everybody is on the same page in terms of the cadence of the communication, what that communication is, and making sure that they're comfortable being involved with those things. But building that out ahead of time so that you can literally just push buttons and have posts happening for these specific milestones. That's my part.
Yes. And we would definitely hope by that point you have marketing copy that you've already done. You have a collaboration, perhaps a collaboration calendar of different days in the month where you will be collaborating with somebody else, some other company that's maybe similar or beautifully adjacent to your particular project. But yes, having done all the the handwork, I don't want to say legwork, of having all of these marketing copies and all of these posts as in Kickstarter updates for milestones, a minimum of 1 a week, but you are going to be doing more than that, already set up and ready to go for launch day is golden for you.
The first 72 hours are pretty essential on a Kickstarter, as are the last 72 hours. And you really want to set your project up for success by communicating clearly to the people that you're working with, as everybody here has already been saying. The other thing that you can do is to manage what your backers are expecting out of the Kickstarter, ensure that any sort of pre-sign-ups have been communicated to, and that you've really saturated your social media and all of your other marketing arenas with the information about when it's going live and trying to create the sense of an event. One of the things that we do that we find is really effective is to create some special benefits that would be an early bird sort of a special or something that's tied to those first pledges, because a lot of Kickstarter backers have it within their mindset that they want to see how big it becomes before they put down that money. But to ensure a strong starting point for your Kickstarter, which is going to, propel everything forward, it's like a snowball going down a hill. And you want it to have that momentum in those first 72 hours, and you want it to grow for a number of different reasons. Getting onto the page of the front page of the Kickstarter, getting projects that we love, all of these things amplify your range. And to ensure that you have the best opportunity to get those things, you should think about the structure of your backer support and sort of the extra rewards that you're giving them. And it can be something small, but you'd be surprised at what will move the needle from a backer's mind from should I get involved now to I'm going to get involved now. Because the truth of the matter is that, they may want to support your Kickstarter, but they may also forget about it within that 30 days and not even come back to it, not come back to the page. So the sooner you can secure that support, the better.
Yeah, jumping off of that, I really agree with what you just said, Knox. I think that the first 72 hours are really important, and to continue that momentum, having a media circuit lined up so that way you're talking to reviewers, interviewers, influencers, making sure that all the people that are going to be excited about your game and passionate about your game are talking about the game. Just keeping that momentum going is really important.
Yeah, something else that I want to say about launch itself. I mean, we've definitely hit it on the head with these 72 hours. And just something that popped into my head, having a really great promo video on your page does a lot. It does so much, and not having that be too long, at the most 2 minutes, because I've seen the metrics on this for different videos. After 2 minutes, it doesn't matter how epic that video is, people start falling off, and you want to be able to keep that attention. And not only that, but you want to be able to have that video, your launch promo video, be able to be translatable into different forms of media. Like, for instance, Instagram, if you want to promote that video on Instagram, it has to be 90 seconds long. So that's 1 minute, 30 seconds that you need to have a video for that. TikTok is different if you want to promote on that. If Twitter exists whenever you're doing your Kickstarter and you want to promote on that, there's time constraints with it. But just speaking for just our normal everyday attention, 2 minutes tops for that amazing video that does your product or your show or your potato salad, because that was a thing on Kickstarter. So yes, to have that.
So Markeia, you're not suggesting that I do a 20-minute interpretive dance of what my Kickstarter is, because I felt like at first that's what I was hearing, but now I'm not so sure.
I thought that was, you were kickstarting for your 20-minute,
No. That's
video.
just that. That's like the freebie. That's the freebie.
Fair enough. But yes, and keeping in mind, go ahead and if you have any questions, but we're hoping to answer a whole lot of the questions while we're progressing with this. So we've had that amazing 72 hours. Everything went according to plan. As they do in Kickstarters. I'm lying. They do not. I'm joshing around with you. Things that you didn't even realize would happen will come out of the woodwork with you with Kickstarters, which is another reason why build in that time and money for yourself and your team, because it's things that you don't even expect are happening at 2 a.m. and you need to do an update about things about that. But in any case, we're progressing along. We've done the 72 hours. We've now hit the middle ground, or the mid stretch, the mid run. I personally call it the slump, where it tends to be all of this excitement has happened. You've done everything that you were supposed to do. You ticked every box, but for some reason, your engagement has not flatlined, but has definitely gone down. So can we talk about anybody else that has experienced the slump, and then a tip or a trick that helps you either emotionally get on top of it, or what you did with your Kickstarter itself?
I can quickly talk about someone who's in a slump right now currently. So my project is currently 50% funded. We are in our plateau time, which is that fun time that happens about a week into your Kickstarter, 2 weeks in, where it just sort of flatlines. You're still getting donations, but they're not significant enough to even raise your percentile. And that can be very a sad time for you and your team, where you're all just like, I'm going to take this afternoon off because I'm too sad to work. Things that we are doing we've ideated is, first of all, have events happening constantly. Be always talking about something new about your Kickstarter. You've definitely in your head talked about everything, but maybe the people looking at your social feed haven't seen everything. So taking one reward, making a video about that. Talking about, hey, what kind of project is this? Why are we doing this? Like, what are our backgrounds? Who are we? Any of these who, what, where, why questions can become an entire video, a tweet, threads kind of a thing, just a way to educate the audience about who you are, why this matters to you, and why should it matter to them. So more of that. Again, I'm talking about hearts and minds. And another thing about the slump is to number one, you can talk to Kickstarter. So not everyone gets access to like the Kickstarter executives, but you can just email them, because that's what we did before we did ours. And we're like, hi, we're a brand new company with experience in this space, but we are doing Kickstarter. Can we talk to someone there to like get insight? And it took a little while to bang down some doors, but like they have people designated to talk to you. They have agents. I don't know, but we're talking to John Ritter, who of course is head of games at Kickstarter, because he just replied to our email. I was like, oh yeah, cool, I'll talk to you guys. So we've been having meetings with him like every 2 weeks. So that's two things you can do. And then the third thing is straight from Kickstarter, they've said to me that even if you're not funded at like 3 to 4 days left, don't cancel your Kickstarter until like 2 or 1 day before, because they have seen projects that have gotten like 75% of the funding, 50% of their funding at those last days, because it becomes a more desperate time for you. And then your audience sees that and they're like, well, I want to help you. So, and then don't forget, at the 48-hour and the 8-hour mark before your project ends, anyone who signed up for the pre-launch, the notify me button at the beginning of during the pre-launch part of your campaign, they get emailed again automatically by Kickstarter. So they will be reminded, hey, you might have forgotten to back them, but here's what you can do. So there's a lot of things that you can keep in your head to remember that there's still a chance, and you just have to stay positive about it, because if you don't believe in yourself, who's gonna believe?
So true.
Well, I believe in you, Michelle. I'm
Thanks.
super excited for Tabletop News. I think it's going to be fan-freaking-tastic. So I would say for some of the TTRPG projects, like I love art drops. And if you're able to do content drops, like it's a great way to keep people engaged and keep that excitement up, because to Knox's point, to Michelle's point, there are people that are coming back and like lurking and looking at that project, and they're looking in the comments, they're looking in the updates. And if you're on top of the comments, and if you're posting updates, especially with content, I love art. So for me, that's kind of the one of the big things that we love to share. And we have some amazing illustrators on the team. It's just a great way to engage people. If you don't have art, I loved Michelle's idea about like sharing little video clips about who you are, why you're doing this, anything to keep people emotionally connected and engaged with the project.
I will go ahead and jump in on this then. For my tips for the slump, just assume that it's going to happen, even if it ends up not happening for your particular project. What I do is that I make sure to schedule what I call tent poles to be within the middle of the campaign, and that can be a very large actual play of the game, of the product. That can be something like a interviewer, a creator interview, or it can be something bigger that someone would have to spend some time on, and like getting to know the world, getting to know the game. Would put something like that in the middle, so it's just like, oh yeah, remember this? Well, here's something that we can actually show you. And I love what Jamie said. Yes, always have art drops. Pay your artists, don't do AI art. I'm just going to say that out loud. And go ahead and have that, because and also do an outreach to your community. Then go ahead, and not only that, go ahead into other people's communities and find out what they're talking about. See if your product would be something great for them. See if their product would be something great for you, because then that's also such a great time to collaborate with people. what is it? A rising tide raises all boats type of a situation. So pump them up with your products, that perhaps they will pump up yours, and you move forward. You will get out of the slump. It's just extremely disheartening while you're there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Markeia. I think that cross collaboration is really important, not just in terms of finding other people who have projects going on that you can like cross collaborate on or cross promote on, but also like thinking about the stretch goals. Like if you have stretch goals built into your project, then you could potentially, start having updates rolled out where you're just saying like, we're so close to having this amazing creator like on our project, so like let's talk about like what they're doing, what their plans are, and also highlighting their work, right? So doing that sort of cross collaboration is really important. I think another thing is just like understanding that the plateau just probably will happen, like understanding that like as long as you feel like you have agency over what you can do and just like stepping away from it for a bit, like that's totally fine and valid, because in most cases like crowdfunding campaigns, there is going to be that dip and there's going to be that plateau. So just understanding that, it might happen most likely, and stepping away is totally fine.
You can also be cautious about how you plan out your Kickstarter. If you know for a fact that you are going to be able to count on backers early on in the process, and that the back end is going to be pretty strong based on your plan for how you're going to promote yourself, you can run a shorter Kickstarter. You're not stuck at 30 days. You can run something shorter. You can make it more compact. You can make it more intense. You could be ready to kind of go in and sprint rather than run a marathon. I think that a lot of folks kind of get tied into the idea that things have to be a certain way. And you have a lot of freedom with this platform as to how you're going to work with it. At the end of the day, what you really want to make sure that you're doing, though, is communicating the whole way through. The dip can be a point where you get to recharge, you get to recuperate, you get to find ways to come back at it, course correct. If you find that you have all these analytics now, you're actually able to redirect some of your efforts so that those days where things are slower are not wasted. And people are still listening. So no matter what you do, maintain your momentum, keep communicating, and don't just stop because you're like, well, we're not making money right now. Time to take a vacation. I'll come back in a couple of days and we'll see what happens. Keep going.
Yeah, and stay positive. You started this for a reason, because you believed in your product or your show. You believe in it, and you have people that have backed you that believe in it too. So let that lift you up. That's a lot, because everybody's dealing with a lot, but you have backers. You've gotten to this point. You will reach the end in one way or another. So just stick through with it. It's worth the journey, no matter how we might be a little bit woeful with things right now. It is worth the journey to do this. It's a learning experience.
And to dovetail off of that, if your Kickstarter does fail, that doesn't mean that it's a complete failure. You can learn from it and Kickstarter it again. I can show you a number of success stories where people had 2 or 3 failures before they finally hit it the right way, with the right direction, with the right elements, to be a very, very successful Kickstarter.
Absolutely. So, okay. So speaking with that, so we've reached the final 72 hours. The end. It's not the end. It's really not the end. It's just your new normal. But yes, final 72 hours, tips and tricks with things for in a Kickstarter way, or even things that you hope to have happen within the 72 hours of your Kickstarter. I mean, I can start definitely with the final 72 hours. That's where I believe anything that you have held, in your back pocket, all of that comes out. And particularly, I treat each day of the final 72 hours as its own campaign, where it's even broken down in hours of, okay, this update is going out with this. We'll have this clip of the interview coming out during this time. We're going to make sure to hit the backer kits final 72-hour emails, and this is going to be the copy for it, and that's going to be day 1 of the 72 hours. Day 2 is going to be this and this. I do an inundation approach of positivity and just we love everything about our product. This is the time that you have to back it. Here are the stretch goals that we really want to reach. Here's as much detail as we can for what this stretch goal is, which is the next one, and updating the page, getting on social media. It's like basically that's your job for those 72 hours. So that's how I approach it and how I'd recommend other people do.
I think everybody's being shy, so I'm going to jump in here too. The last 72 hours are can be stressful, but the goals that you've already set for yourself, go back to the beginning, make your course corrections as to where you want to end up, and try your best. But when you're gathering together all the data that you've already accumulated through the whole process, be sure to share that information. So, for instance, if you have stretch goals that you and your community have already hit, you should be making some very targeted communication about, hey, if you jump in now, here are all the extra things that we can offer you because of your support. And if you haven't supported already, or if you have supported already, let someone else know. Your word of mouth is going to help carry us forward. Maintain the thread of community involvement and support the people who are trying to support you. Give them assets. Be sure to share things that are in some way engaging so that people feel the need to retweet them or share them on other platforms and let it organically grow. But in those last 72 hours, it's going to feel like a train is barreling into the station without brakes. And you really only have that small window of time to remind everybody who has yet to be involved, who is interested, that this is the time, this is the last chance before you're going to, perhaps have to, collect this as a pre-order, which means it's not necessarily going to have all the benefits that they can get right now.
I would say it's also the time to be super, whether it's you or whether it's somebody on your team, but somebody should be in the comments constantly, because your community of backers are going to be super active, especially the last 24 hours of those 72 hours, because especially if there's stretch goals that aren't unlocked yet that they're excited about, because they're going to be talking about those. They're going to be, they're going to be encouraging, and you want to be active in that discussion and, be talking to them, be replying to them. The other thing is that you're going to be exhausted when this is over, and you need to be emotionally and mentally prepared for that. And part of that, as you can probably guess, is all about the preparation. So as much stuff as you can have done ahead of time, including the majority of your copy for what you're going to post when you're like, hey, this is all done. And then keep in mind that with Kickstarter, like when it's done, like that page is frozen. So if there are any changes in the graphics that you want to make, like, have those prepped and ready so that you can make any kind of changes about like, hey, fully funded, or like, pre-orders will be available on this date or whatever. Any messaging changes that you want to include in your page, make sure that those are ready to go so that you don't get stuck forgetting, and then the page freezes and you're like, oh, I wish I had changed that image, or I wish I had put a thank you message, up front, because the campaign can continue to collect money if you're doing pre-orders somewhere as well. So it is, to Markeia's point, it is not the end, it is the beginning.
Yeah, piggybacking off of what you were saying, Jamie, about pre-orders, and Nox, you mentioned this as well. So for Indiegogo, if you reach your campaign and it's the end of the whatever days that you've set, there's something called in demand. And so you keep collecting funds up until the point where I believe it's within 3 months of your estimated delivery date. And so you still have some time to continue collecting those funds. The one thing I do want to stress when it comes to differences between Indiegogo and Kickstarter is that Kickstarter's algorithm, it does sort of like do more marketing and like try to get like your page, especially if it's funded, especially if it's gotten really successful, they do try to put your Kickstarter on the top of their page, so the front of their page, versus Indiegogo. I think their algorithms are a little different, so that way they don't do that as much. So those are some key differences to keep an eye on.
Just like one last thing. There's this thing that I didn't know about till I did this Kickstarter. I want to look at it real quick so I don't want to say it the wrong name. But it's called like the creator funds. There's a link on Kickstarter that if you are there are a couple of different creator funds that are for specific underrepresented communities that do have like X amount of like cash to give to projects that they feel are worthy. So it doesn't hurt to check those and to apply. I think somebody submitted for us and we got a small grant from them, which is very nice. But, that's something you can do at the last hours if you don't have it yet. Be like, I'll apply for this little thingy.
Excellent. So yeah, let's kind of roll a little bit into fulfillment with everything with Kickstarter. And this actually going somewhat into one of the questions. We've kind of answered this all the way around, but it's like economic considerations for print run for a project you're crowdfunding. And Banana did touch on this earlier with if you have shipping elements to do with like where you can ship in the world. Because of, because of pandemic, and because of a certain ship, and along with a whole lot of other things, there were parts of the world that were just not as easily to be shipped to. Like costs skyrocketed. We're talking everything from 3 to 10 times the amount of what they would be pre-pandemic to be able to ship to these areas of the world. And there's a lot that goes in with that. There's racist elements in it. There's classist elements in it where parts of the world we're not able to ship to them at the same price that we can ship to, say, Eurocentric countries, which sucks. But as smaller businesses, we don't have a way to be able to change that. So for fulfillment purposes, I would very much like you to look at your Kickstarter, and this is something that you can change during. You can be, I can only ship to Europe, or I can only ship to North America. You can be that at the beginning of your campaign, and you can change that part way through where it's like, okay, great. We hit this milestone that we were hoping for. So therefore we can now ship worldwide. But then also communicating that to everyone, be like, hey, we will do our absolute best to fulfill this worldwide. There might be things that we won't be able to control, but we will work with you or we will refund you, and we apologize either way. So saying that for if you have an actual physical product that you are trying to ship in other places in the world. But other tips for fulfillment things for people running Kickstarters?
Mine's a project, not a product, but I worked in merchandising for quite a few years before I came to the tabletop world. And we have some physical awards with ours as well. Find a distributor. Like if you want to do worldwide stuff, if you're expecting at least 1,000 of a item of like a SKU to go out somewhere, like maybe find a distributor. You can Google it, ask a friend, talk to another company, like, hey, who do you use for distribution? These people have companies that have warehouses placed around the globe that we can ship your product, probably it's made in China or wherever, ship all your stuff there. They will be in charge of separating out to their orders and shipping it for you. Yes, it costs money, but then they already have the knowledge to take care of things like VAT. Do you have a VAT like license number? No. Do you know how much it costs? It's a lot of money and it's very difficult to do. So trusting somebody else, especially if you're first, run it, is probably the best thing. I know people are always like, oh, just make it in my house and then I'll just like ship it. It's like, no, they bought a product from you, so you have to charge them tax. And wherever they are in the world, that's gonna suck for you if it's not like next door to you. So keep that in mind. You can't just give someone something.
That's a great point. Yeah.
And for hunters, we do our fulfillment through Gamerati. I heartily recommend them. Recommend.
They're great.
They're great.
Mm-hmm. You may also, depending upon how big your Kickstarter is and where you're shipping, you may want to have a European distributor and then a North American distributor as well. And you should be getting estimates as early as possible, so that way you can communicate those in your project and people can not be shocked and surprised with how much shipping is going to be, because in some cases it's really, really expensive.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have somebody be super excited about your project and then suddenly be absolutely horrified because they're paying $28 in shipping for a product that is $20. That's an extreme example. The other thing is that if you've got lots of products, then you have to keep you have to keep in mind, it's not just the shipping cost, there's the packing cost. So the distributors that you're using, they'll break that down and they'll share with you how many, like there's usually a certain amount of pieces that it includes, which is often 4 or 5 pieces. But once you go over that, there's an additional cost per piece for them to package all of this together. And you can, of course, pass that on to backers, but you want to do that in a way that's really transparent and fair.
You know, to Jamie's point, there is a point where something might go wrong. It's kind of inevitable in this process. You're going to find out that something's going to cost you more than you thought it was, or you don't have enough of something else. And you're going to have to fix that in the back end. And what that's going to do is cause delays. And so when those delays occur, the most important thing that you can do is communicate to your backers and be as open and clear about it as possible. But you want to make sure that what you're communicating is accurate information. So really double check all of your sources before you go out with a statement. Don't panic. Take your time and make sure that what you're communicating is correct, but make sure that that communication is consistent and is directed to your backers in a way that's respectful and fair.
Yeah, agreed. I think I'm not sure if all of you have heard about the current fiasco that's going on with shipping, but shipping container prices are now, I think today's Saturday, I think starting yesterday, the prices have dropped back down to pre-pandemic levels. And so prices luckily are a little bit better now. But again, we don't know if that's going to fluctuate in the future. We don't know if that's going to, stay the same. And so keeping that in mind, and also working with like warehouses, if you're going to order like a larger quantity, keep in mind those like warehousing costs, and trying to have like a quick turnaround time with your product. That's really useful. So we personally work with Quartermaster Logistics. They've been amazing. I think Greater Than Games has also been awesome. Like they have this great program where they just basically go to a whole lot of different distributors and, they talk to Asmodee, ACD, all these other different types of distributors. And they usually pitch their own products, but they're just like, we also have friends who also have products that we're warehousing. Would you like to, take a look at those as well? So working with, different people has been really beneficial for us.
Nice. Okay, we're starting to run pretty close to time now. But for this question, any guidance for super small Kickstarters? What is the bare minimum for running something small? I will say for a lot of companies, you get a really good break at 1,000 units of something. I don't know how super small your Kickstarter is, but 1,000 tends to be where it really makes it worthwhile. So keep in mind that. I don't know your personal circumstances, but that would be a pretty good goal, I would say, unless someone has a different opinion on that.
I think so too. I agree with what you're saying. And also, like, if it's just a book and you could probably do it like locally, you could probably go to Mixam and just like get it printed there and have like a varying degree of like, based off of like how you think you want to adjust your unit count, you could do like hundreds, right? Like it could just be like 100, 200, 300, and so on and so forth. Just keep in mind like the adjustment in the cost when you go through the website.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Okay,
if it's
so
all digital, just really quick, if it's all digital, then, there doesn't necessarily have to be a minimum. It's just what it's worth to you.
if it's all digital, those problems kind of go away. So there is that. Yes, just to remind, there is a post-panel discussion. You can go into it in the Discord for Big Bad Con. Everyone, thank you so much for sharing everything and everybody's links to their products, their shows, their Kickstarters, their Indiegogo, and everything has been dropped in the chat. Go ahead and take a look at everything. Look at these products out in the wild. So yes, everyone, again, thank you so much for being here, and especially y'all. I'm pointing to the panelists, and now I'm pointing to the audience. Panelists, audience.
I'm pointing back at you, I think.
Yeah. We appreciate it. Let's keep the conversation going. Follow us on social media and have a great rest of your today.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much.
Thank
And
you.
shout out to the forgery that Banana is doing, that Kickstarter, and to Tabletop News.
Tabletop News.
Wait,
yeah,
this way.
Yeah. Yes.